this webinar is to give you a short introduction about the two courses that we are conducting. ERM stands for Enterprise Risk Management and BCM is Business Continuity Management. All right, just a short introduction about myself. All right, I'm a director in Deloitte and Touche. All right, I oversee the crisis and resilience practice in Southeast Asia. All right. So what do we do is we support our clients in crisis management, crisis communication, business continuity management, and organizational resilience. Right. The ERM part of the practice is actually handled by another team. Right. So I started my career in the armed forces. I spent about 25 years. Right, and then I work in one of the leading banks in Singapore. Right, the reason why I left the army earlier is because I went over to the Singapore Youth Olympic Games Organizing Committee. All right, I headed the ERM working group. So I have gone back to working in the government agencies and the private sectors, 4 other private sectors since I left the armed forces. Right. So today's content, all right, I will share with you the introduction part. I'll briefly mention what is crisis management, enterprise risk management, business continuity management, and then I go into a little bit details about ERM and BCM, and then one last part is about comparison, all right, between those two, ERM and BCM. So today the talk is mainly focused on ERM and BCM. Right. So you may have heard business resilience, organizational resilience. I think this buzzword actually became more prominent about 2-3 years ago when the Bank of England issued a consultation paper on resilience. Right. So they set the pace. You find that many of the banks, central banks all over the world actually started to come up with some draft. Right, how can the banks and financial institutions heighten the resilience of the organization? Right. In brief, right, in this slide, this what you are seeing is some of those factors. There are actually many factors that make organization more resilient, right? But the focus here, we are looking at business continuity management and enterprise risk management. But within business continuity management, right, you also learn about interdependencies, right? You also learn about communication, because in crisis management, you need to know about communications, right? In BCM, you also need to do training for your staff. You also need to exercise your business continuity plans. You need to exercise your crisis management team, okay? In the recent, on 6th of June this year, the Monetary Authority of Singapore just issued a new guideline on BCM. All right, one of the guidelines that they have specified is the crisis management team, right? The primary and alternate, they need to be trained. They also need to participate in exercises, right? So cyber resilience, cyber is something. This is during the COVID, you know that there are many of these company businesses have been attacked by cyber, right? So when we conduct in one of the training in BCM, all right, we will touch a little bit on how cyber can impact on the services that in most organizations will take part, right? So organizational culture is about people, okay? So again, in the MAS guideline, they also talk about people, process, and technology, right? People, right? We need to embed in BCM, right? One of the life cycle is about training the people, not just the BCP coordinator or BCM manager, but the general staff also need to receive training. All right, you follow the ISO standard. This is specified inside there. Okay. All right. Last one, governance. Yes, you must have BCM governance and policy. Right. In BCM, ERM also have similar governance and policies. Okay. Right, so sometimes we can get a big mix-up between these 3 frameworks I'm talking about in front of you, right? But they actually they are interconnected, right? Way back, all right, the enterprise risk management started off quite some time back. I think as earlier as in the 90s, right? I wanted to attend a training, but I couldn't find a course in Singapore. So I have to go to London to attend some training and get myself certified. Okay, but you can find such training available in Singapore now, right? Even that can be done on Zoom. Okay, all right. Business continuity management actually evolved, right, from enterprise risk. It was used as a standalone, but it actually is involved, right, in a big company like in a banks, for example, right. The risk management committee will actually oversee what are your contingency plan and what are your business continuity plans, right? So I will tell you what are the different later, right? And in business continuity management, you also need to develop a crisis management, right? So I think recently, probably next month, right, there will be a new ISO standard that will be published on crisis management itself, right? Crisis management, we do offer a training, but together with our hub, our partner, right? But this will be launched, I think, probably by end of the year. Okay, there will be a separate training on crisis management. I will share a little bit with you what do we do in part of the BCM training. What do we cover on crisis management? Okay, on enterprise risk management, ERM. So I'll use some of those acronyms like ERM and BCM. Okay. Right. So enterprise, as it always say, it actually covers the entire organization. Right. It's an enterprise-wide, organization-wide, in different type of categories. So you see there are 5 categories. Actually, you can put more if you want, depending on the nature of your business and the size of the company. So financial risk. All right, there's also a compliance risk, whether you like compliance risk, like for example, you are working in a bank or financial institutions, right? You need to comply to the BCM guideline. All right, you also need to comply to the technology risk management, for example. Okay, strategic risk, reputational risk. Sometimes some company actually put reputational and strategic risk together. All right, because you don't manage your reputation, your communication, you actually can affect, for example, the loyalty of your customers. Okay, operational risk. Okay, actually, operational risk it plays a very big part in any of the organization. Okay, just let me take a quick some questions. All right, whether you can have these webinar slides, we'll leave it to our hub to answer this question. Right. Okay, so so BCM actually focus on operational risk. You will hear a bit later, right? What are the 4 pillars can actually affect operational risk in BCM? Crisis management. To have a crisis management, all right, aligning with BCM, right? 2 things. You must be ready. To be ready, you must understand what is the risk that the organization can face. All right. So what are the things that can disrupt you? Then you have to define your crisis management team, mainly your senior management. What is their role? The chairman of the crisis management team can be the CEO of the company. And then alternate probably maybe the DY CEO or COO and so forth. All right. So every appointment holders, all right, in the crisis management team, you must have your alternate. You must develop a plan, all right, for that meeting when you activate your crisis management team, when you sit down together. What is the agenda? The first thing, of course, to give them a situational awareness. Each of these appointment in the team will tell a story. They're part of the story. So the key thing about crisis management process is how you put all these different stories, right, into a common operating picture so that the management can have a correct picture. With the correct picture information, then they can make decisive decision. Okay, so you need to practice, all right, so that you know that when something happens, how incidents are being notified and being escalated, because it's so serious that the management need to be informed, and then they will need to give decision direction what need to be done. So you need to have a response plan, right? For example, you need to kick off your business continuity plan because there's some disruption to your business, right? So authority must come from someone else, and then they will monitor the recovery, right? Of course, you cannot provide a service. For example, I think a few months earlier this year, they have these scam on the banks, all right? So the bank management actually step up and then they issue communication, right? So to manage this disruption and to manage inquiries from the press, from MAS, and from the customers, okay? So the key thing, all right, about crisis management is to act quickly within that golden hour, right? If you don't communicate, you find that the keyboard warriors at home, right, will be shooting and shooting and shooting a lot of maybe fake news, all right, wrong information. Then it will be quite tragic for the company to answer all those questions because they already formed certain perception. Okay, business continuity management. All right. The thing about this crisis business continuity management BCM is, so again, you must have a plan ready. Right. The challenge of implementing a BCM is actually on the design stage, analysis and design. You need to analyze your risk assessment. All right. You already have an ERM. Pull out the operational risk and then look at what are the key risks that have an impact on your business and what are the things that you need to do to address it. So you analyze the risk and then you also analyze what are the business impact analysis. So in impact analysis, you actually look at what are your dependencies, your upstream, downstream dependencies, and what are your critical businesses or critical services and critical function. Okay, you develop the plan, right? And then if there's any disruption, how are you going to recover? Okay, so you need to actually exercise your plan to ensure that your plans works. Your plans, there may be some gap, you don't exercise, you won't know what are your gaps. Okay, cover that a little bit more in the later details. All right, so we go into enterprise risk management. Maybe just let me take a look at what are the important questions. Okay, we can answer those questions later. All right. Enterprise risk management. All right, when we conduct this trading, the one-day trading, all right, we'll focus on the ISO 3100. Okay, right. So looking on the right side on enterprise risk management, or when we do, I think some of you who have gone to national service, you may do some safety plan, safety management, or some of you may have attended the workplace safety training. I'm aware that LHub actually conduct the WSA because I attended the advanced course in maybe 7-8 years ago in LHub. Right. So this is something that we learn. All right. I do learn the WSH risk assessment from the course, so I know that they follow this model, right? So people can come to you. You have the risk officers, all right? People come to you. Everything can be a risk, but you need to contextualize, all right, to make sure that the risks are properly written. The description of the risk makes sense to people. You identify the risk, you analyze it, all right, evaluate. How do we evaluate? There's what's the likelihood, what's the impact when the risk happen, all right? And then you treat it, okay? Once you have treated, you call it the residual risk, okay? You remove, you treat it means you have a contingency plan or you do something to change, all right, to make the risk rating lower. Right, you can go even low as possible, right, until it's acceptable to the management. Okay, what are the treatment that you are called to, right? to a level that your management is satisfied. Okay, you meet the management objective, right? So this iterative loop, right? You can continue to do looping and looping until you reach a certain level. Whatever you are doing in risk management, all right, very important, you must always communicate and consult with all your stakeholders. Okay. All right. So what is risk identification? Okay, those blue box in this big box under the risk assessment. You ask yourself, what can go wrong? Okay. It's something that we're already in, pandemic. All right. We learned about SARS in 2003. All right. Our memory very short. Okay. When we cleared SARS, everything go back to normal. People forget about hygiene. And then when H1N1 came, it doesn't scare so much, but people have forgotten again, right? So just a few years ago, I was working in one of the government agency. All right, we asked. They always talk about haze, right? Because that time haze was quite dominant, right? Then we look at, okay, we review haze plan. Then we review pandemic. No lie, it won't happen, you know, things like that. So if you don't review your pandemic plan, although like say SARS, H1N1, now COVID-19, maybe the next pandemic may be different, but at least we have a plan, right? For example, what is your plan? Okay, in pandemic, you must have PPE, personal protection equipment. All right, maybe you need thermometer, maybe you need scanner, we will know, right? So ask yourself, what can happen? What can disrupt your business? What can make your business fail or make you lose your P&L? Right? Can be the last webinar before sometime I think in early January, I shared with the people who attended the webinar about the Russia may attack Ukraine. All right. I said Russia may attack Ukraine. So, and I tell them, what are the indicators that I know that Russia will invade? When they will invade, right? I didn't predict this correctly, but I predicted it somewhere based on the world event. All right, you can remember the Winter Olympic Games when Putin went to visit China in Beijing, and then he had a separate talk with Xi Jinping. So when I was conducting the course, all right, some of the students, they asked me, I remember you mentioned, how do you know? I don't have a crystal ball, but in risk management, during the training, I will share with you something about risk sensing. What is risk sensing? All right, I do get reports, all right, about Russian forces were actually massing. Okay, some of these indicators will tell you that, hey, I think Russia is likely to attack, but it's a matter of when. But you will not be doing the Winter or Paralympic event. Okay, because it's a major event that China do not want Russia to, don't disturb me during this period. But immediately after the Winter Olympic, Russia launched an attack. Okay. Probably the Paralympic is not a significant event in the eye of both countries, both leaders. Okay. So the next stage is to analyze the risk. What does this mean to you? If this risk come about, what is the impact on your organization? Okay. And then you evaluate, right? What is the probability of this happening? If it happens, what is the impact on your operations? Then you do risk treatment. Okay, risk treatment can be a business continuity plan, a contingency plan, all right? Or you transfer the risk to, say, insurer, all right? Transferring the risk to insurer does not mean that you will transfer your responsibility to your vendor, okay? The treatment can be, I can accept or I reject or I don't do. That means this particular services that you're providing is so risky, the management decided Okay, we don't do, we take away. This is called a treatment. Okay. Right. So these are some of the key questions. All right, we'll be walking through with you during the training. All right, there will be some discussion, hands-on training. Right, you will learn to write what is your risk and how you describe your risk. All right, there will be template for you to fill in how to give points. All right, rating. All right, so that you know what are the risk rating that you are given. Okay, so these are what they call a heat map. Okay, this is a very simple, all right, 3x3. All right, the most organization I know they use 5x5 because this is more detailed. For those who are learning, who have already attended the workplace safety training, right? MOM actually advocate 5x5. All right. So what the thing they need to do in ERM is to move risks, right, that are in the red or in the purple, in the pink. That means at the top right corner of the matrix down as low as possible, right, to the bottom left. Okay. So one of the purpose for you to do is to reduce the rating, right, and then to bring the risk to a manageable level. So in short, you don't do this alone, all right? You must always identify what are your upstream risks. Upstream, that means somebody doing something, you're depending on someone, right? If something go wrong, it will have an impact on you. Downstream risk is whatever happened to you will have an impact on someone that is dependent on you, okay? All right, you understand this upstream and downstream risk. And what are the things that you can do, right, to minimize your risk and your impact? All right, and then you evaluate what are the control they need to put in, right? Sometimes simple things like briefing, all right, briefing to people. You need to evaluate your vendors that are providing services to you. You need to evaluate, ensure that your vendors is able to support you even in the disruption. Do they have a BCP plan? Do they have a BCM framework in place, right? So maybe you can drop the rating. Maybe you want to spread your risk instead of depending on one particular or one sole service provider. You want to have more service provider, right? So that you will not disrupt your supply chain. Okay. Right. Risk sensing. I'm not sure how many of you have heard about risk sensing. So in this course, I will be sharing you what are the methodology and what are the tools available, right, that you can do risk sensing, right? There are tools available, but the purpose of my course is not to sell you the tools. Okay, I don't sell services during the training, and I don't sell tools. All right. I may just mention some of the available tools, right? And remember, I'm not trying to hard sell to you, so I won't focus on all those what I call advantages and disadvantages and pros and cons. I won't be evaluating all these platform that is out there. Okay. All right, I think I move on to the next topic. BCM. All right. Remember, I mentioned just now, BCM is actually on operational risk. Okay, so the BCM framework actually depends on these 3R. The 3R, the readiness, being ready to have a plan to respond. All right, when something happened. Okay, when something happened, you, like for example, a building is on fire. All right, you do your emergency evacuation plan. All right, you evacuate people. When people are evacuated, then how do we account for people? Okay, some during this period, some of us may be working from home, some may be on leave, some may be on meeting at somewhere else. All right, and number of people in office. Do you know? Does your fire warden aware? Okay, there's something that in the central business district, because the space are very limited, there's no place for evacuation. So they have something called virtual evacuation, virtual assembly area. That means you evacuate from a building, go as far as possible, take the nearest train, go to somewhere else, or go to your alternate site. Okay, but your company, probably the HR will need to account, fire warden need to account. How do you account? All right, there's something called mass notification system. You blast out and people will respond and say, okay, for example, I will just key 1, I'm safe, or you can keywords, I need help, I'm stuck at level 20 male toilets, okay, all right, I need help. Maybe somebody may have feeling giddy, you know, or get stuck somewhere, all right, then your HR can coordinate with the evacuation, the emergency response team, right? Then they will inform the SCDF to evacuate to help you, right? These are some of this emergency evacuation plan. But of course, the crisis management team will need to sit down and look, evaluate what are the impact, and then make a decision. All right, this is a disaster. We need to activate our BCP plan to recover our services. So in BCM, all right, the management have to state what is your RTO and what is your RTO means the recovery to your objective, right? For example, if I'm today I have a restaurant. My restaurant has 10 tables. Okay, so if my restaurant got partially burned down, right? Maybe I won't be able to partially burn down or destroy. Maybe I won't be able to open 10 tables, right? Or maybe a better example is I also provide food delivery. Okay, all right. Assuming my kitchen is not affected, I can continue to cook and provide services. But some of my people may not be able to provide 100% services. My management will tell me, quickly recover, all right, by 2 hours or by 5 hours or by 1 day or by 2 days, you state your recovery time. Okay. During the management will tell you that recover within 4 hours, but you don't need to be 100%, maybe 70% of the day-to-day, the normal day services, right? Some of these things got to be stated in your policies, right? So when we talk about recovery, doesn't mean that we need to recover 100%, go back to before recovery, before the disruption stage. Okay, so this is something, some of those terminology that you will learn during this training, right? So 4 things that you look at, right? Loss of workplace. For some reason, right? You have no access to your office, to your warehouse, right? Or even to some of your factory, right? Due to fire or due to some reason, right? Maybe the Legionnaire disease, all right? It's not safe to go inside, right? So you don't have a workplace. So do you have an alternate workplace? All right. So you may have your strategy plan is to have an alternate place. What kind of strategy? Is this a hot site? Hot site means a replicate of your office, your table, chair, your IT support are all there, hot. Okay. In your present office, your department maybe presently now 10 tables, 10 chairs for 10 staff, but in the alternate site, you may not require all 10. Okay, maybe 2 or 3, but everything is ready for you to plug and play. Warm side, you have the space, right? Maybe some tables, you do need to do a bit of installation to get it up on time, maybe 1 day or so, right? Cold side is cold place. You just have the space, you don't have the furniture, you don't have all your office support equipment. You take a longer time to bring it up, okay? Right? It's something called mobile site. I've not come across in Singapore, right? Mobile site is mobile, okay? people can work on a mobile, maybe a container that is being constructed to look like office, right? Some company may have plans to work with some vendors, like WeWork, for example, right, to provide a space for the staff to work. Okay, IT application not available. All right, IT. This also refer to cyber attack when they actually encrypt a system or encrypt the data that you cannot actually perform your function. Okay. Number 3, loss of people can be due to mass vaccination, loss of key people, your key management, or people who you temporarily lost them because of maybe pandemic or illness. Number 4 is your service provider, right? Your third-party management. Service provider may not necessarily refer to our telco, right? It's also your supply chain. Okay, so these 4 key areas that you look into, right, that can have an impact on your businesses, right? And you also learn about some of your governance structure, right? At the top, the management will set the policies and governance, right? Governance refer to your, for example, your BCM steering committee, your working committee, all right? And then your incident management team, right? When there's a response, what are the response level? Okay, so these are all aligned with the ISO 22301. The latest standard is actually 2019. Previously was 2012. So the latest ISO standard 2009 spelled out. It is actually more flexible. Yeah, but some of the terminology has also changed, right? Okay, so I won't go into the details here, but during the training we will walk through, review some of the ISO. The purpose of the BCM training is not to make you familiar with the ISO. All right, this is not the requirement. It's only a one-day course. All right, but I will share with you what does some of the ISO requirement. Okay, and then towards the end of the day, we'll spend about 2 hours on a tabletop exercise, a simulated tabletop exercise. Okay, so that when you become a BCP manager or coordinator, you know how to organize tabletop exercise. Okay, right. So this is something that is plucked out from the ISO 22301, right? What is the BCM life cycle? So risk assessment and business impact analysis is what they call the analysis stage. You come out with a strategy, right? What your strategy, for example, just now the strategy I mentioned to you, right? Whether you have an alternate site, whether you have a hot site, cold site, warm site, and so forth, right? Then all the critical functions or services will develop a BCP plan, right? You also need to communicate, right? Come up with a crisis communication, your crisis management plan. How do you disseminate your BCM strategy to your staff? So to your general staff, right, you can conduct BCM awareness week, you can conduct training, or you can go into e-learning module, right? For example, in my company, it's a mandatory course. All of us have to attend a e-learning module with quiz. You must pass 80%, then you consider done. If not, you got to do the e-learning over again until you pass. Okay, so I do work out with some clients, right? This is some of those requirements. Right. Yesterday, or rather 2 days ago, I just went to a public hospital to have a discussion. They are very, very keen to, because there are many doctors, nurses, and staff working in the hospital. So they got no time to attend training physically. So they want they want to launch an e-learning module where the staff at their own time they can do such a training. Okay. So, but it's a requirement in ISO 22301 that the staff, when you certify your company for ISO, right, the external auditor will actually look at your plan. Do we have a training plan for your people? test and exercise. All right, is what I mentioned. Test your plan, see whether people know. Look at your response plan. What are the gaps? What are the shortcomings? Okay, whenever you have identified shortcoming, remediate your plan. All right, improve your plan, enhance your plan. Okay, so this last part of the life cycle program management is where you need to do improvement. Right, sometimes your organization may change the structure a little bit. New processes are being brought in. Right, you need to review your BCP. Okay, you need to look at do a workshop together and see this new business process that be included. What impact does it have on me, on the services I'm presently providing? Okay, program management, continuous improvement to your plan. All right, come to the last part. Okay, so we have heard what I said just now, right? I put it into this slide. What is the difference or similarity between BCM and ERM? So ERM is enterprise-wide. It covers the whole entire organization, right? It's mainly strategic and it focuses on like financial risk, strategic or reputational, operational compliance, and so forth. Whereas in BCM, it's very technical and the scope is focused mainly on the operational risk, right? That result in a prolonged disruption. Okay, so some of you may ask, I have a fire in my office in the pantry. Do I need to kick in my BCP? If your staff are trained to use fire extinguisher, you put out the fire, okay, all right, your fire is extinguished. You can continue doing your work as per normal, right? You no need to kick in the BCP plan. So when you say fire in the building, depending, you must describe it. For fire means you force you to evacuate and then you don't have your workplace for quite some time. All right. So this is called a prolonged disruption. Okay. So ERM also have its governance structure. So in most companies, they have a risk committee, right? They report to the board. They look at how the company or organization manage the risk. Okay, so they don't have a BCM committee, right? But this BCM matters are actually reported under the risk committee. Okay, right? But in BCM, because of the need to drive, right? When you want to implement, you look at program manager improvement, right? You must have a management that actually sponsor and drive and make sure that things are get done. Okay, and then report to the risk management that okay, this have been addressed, the shortcoming have been addressed, have been remediated and improved. Okay, right? So that's all I can share with you. Right. So you have any question, feel free to ask now. Right. Together with James and Tim, we'll take you through those questions that you may have. All right.
Thanks, Edmund, for the wonderful presentation. Right now, I think we will pause for a while and then we will also share the two courses, the course fee as well as the schedules that's upcoming, so that you all know what are the upcoming schedules and you can actually register for them. Okay, so without further ado, let me just quickly share the screen.
James, maybe I just answer one of the questions.
Right? Can, no problem.
Okay, a question being asked, who leads ERM? Okay, normally you have a chief risk officer. The chief risk officer will actually chair the risk management meeting, right? So crisis management, right? When you only step up the crisis management team when you have a crisis, normally it's a CEO of the company that will chair the crisis management team. BCM, all right? BCM, there's a BCM steering committee. Normally it will be chaired by one of the senior management or the sponsor of BCM. You must get a sponsor. When you implement all this framework in your company, you don't have a sponsor, things very hard to move. right? If your company want to implement WSH, a lot of lip service, but a lot of things cannot get done because nobody interested. Okay, so in BCM, who leads? All right, there's a sponsor, but on the day-to-day running, all right, you may have a BCM manager, a full-time BCM manager that actually will oversee the program. But each of the department, you will have your BCP coordinator. So the BCP coordinator is what I call the CCA lah. Somebody will do the extra role in the department to actually come up with the plan. Okay, yeah. If you want to get into an ERM role, what are the certification do I need? Okay, there are few there are several institutes over the world, around the world, that actually provide you with certification. Right. The certification I get in London is the institute is known as Institute of Risk Management, IRM. Right. Where you Google, you can actually find out what are the institute that actually provide. There's another institute called ICOR, organization, organization called ICOR. Okay, ICOR. But Institute of Risk Management is started many years ago, right? It's very well established, right? The exam is not simple. The exam is not multiple choice. The exam are those. There are two papers. I remember you have to take two papers, one on theory and one on application. Right, 3 hours exam for each paper. Any other questions? Yeah.
Okay, yeah, there's one question from Anonymous. You're interested to take up the course and will the course be conducted via physical or online? So this course is fully conducted via online Zoom lah. Yeah, like what we are experiencing right now, Zoom. Okay. Okay, maybe before moving on to the Q&A, let me just quickly brief you guys through the two courses and what are the funding available. So as Edmund has shared earlier, there are two courses. Each course is 1 day. The first one is Enterprise Risk Management, and the second one is Business Continuity Management. Of course, both are not similar courses. Okay, so for the Business Continuity Management, which is powered by Deloitte, meaning to say that the trainers are from Deloitte. The trainer is Edmund himself. It's a 1 day, 7.5 hours course, and within the 1 day course, there will also be an assessment. Okay. So in terms of the course fee, the full course fee is 1,001 before GST, and there's a subsidy for both Singaporeans and citizens and PRs. 70% for below age of 40, and above age of 40 is 90%. Okay, you can find this on our website, our course website. And then in terms of the class schedule, we have one upcoming in October, 7th of October. So if you are interested, please sign up. And of course, we have another 2 classes, one each in November and December. Okay, I just pause here for a while. So if you guys are interested in the leading business continuity management by Deloitte, you can scan the QR code on your left. And also you can actually scan our this LHub code where you can reach out to our friendly sales consultant. Okay, below you see that there is a URL link, which is actually our course page. Okay, I'll pause here for around 5 to 10 seconds and then I'll move on. Okay, the next course is Enterprise Risk Management and Risk Sensing. Again, the trainer is Edmund. So this is really much as what Edmund has shared. If you want to learn about Enterprise Risk Management, if you are into internal audit or you are into strategic, you can take up this course. So the course fee is similar to business continuity. It's also 1,001 before GST, and we have the IBF funding for both Singapore citizens, age above 40 and below 40. So we have an upcoming class on the 9th of September. And we still have available seats. So if you're interested, you can sign up. You can actually scan the QR code here. On the left is our course page, and in the middle is our hotline. You can actually contact our sales consultant. The contact number is 8488-5482, or just scan this QR code and then you'll reach out to our sales consultant. Okay, I think I will pause here and then we can continue with our Q&A. Back to you, Edmund. Thank you very much.
Is there any question? Let's check. Okay, we have answered all the questions. Check. All right. Okay, I think Jacqueline asked for the trainer's profile about my experience in integrating ERM and BCM. Okay, so I have worked personally, as I mentioned just now, I started ERM, not safety, not operational safety, but I started ERM in the Singapore Armed Forces. All right, when the Singapore Forces actually underwent a transformation, we need to look at what are the risks and what are the things that we are not integrated. So that's why I started in ERM, and thereafter I went over to the Youth Olympic Game Organization Committees, right? I actually head the working group, right? Members are representative directors from each of the various divisions. Okay, and I do BCM. A modified type of BCM way back in the army also when I was very young officers. I go through a proper training and courses, all right, when I was working in the back, all right. Okay, there's any more? But feel free to on your mic if you have anything to ask. So during my training, I normally tell a lot of stories. I think storytelling is make you remember, right? So I don't go into very theoretical thing, but I will share story, all right? My own personal experiences with you. I think that's something that you can learn, all right? More than just theory.
Okay, I think let's open up another few minutes for any other questions that you might have. And then if not, then we can end the day. And again, if you guys are interested to sign up for any of our 2 IBF courses, feel free to even just type on the chat, because we have 2 sales consultants here. They'll be ready to help you.
James, someone asked me for my email. Can I give them my office email, or do they contact LHub directly?
I think it's better for them to contact us. I'll provide my email. Hang on. Okay, I also included in the chat, other than my email, we have 2 sales consultants here, Jesse as well as Hazel. And you can reach out to them on their WhatsApp or email as well. If you are interested to sign up or you have any questions pertaining to the course. Okay, I think there's no further questions. Let's end the webinar. Once again, thank you very much for. Okay, I think there's one question. Sorry, from Jesse to on the upstream downstream dependencies for BC plan. Emma, would you be able to answer that?
All right. So upstream, up like a river flowing down from a mountain, go down. All right. So upstream is somebody's services. All right. You are dependent on somebody to provide you a service. If there's a disruption, right, it will impact you. Okay, from upstream, right? If the river, if the water did not flow, you won't get the water. And on your side, you stop the water, all right, from flowing down, then down to the delta, nobody will be able to receive the water. This is the downstream dependencies. Okay, right? So you look at analogy of the river, the water flowing from a mountain down to the sea, to the delta. I hope I answered that question, Jesse. By attending the BCM course, can you smoothly develop or revamp? You learn a bit more about the theory, all right? Then whether you understand it to apply to revamp your PC plan, it depends on your maturity. But during the course, you can actually ask this question, a consultation, because PC plan is something very, very sensitive, right? Because in this LHub, once you are in the canvas, before the training, all right, we actually I will start communicating with the student, and we actually continue to communicate with the student even after the course, right? Most of the adult learner that attend the course are people in the 20s, all right? The question they ask me after the course are mainly on career counseling, all right? So it's nothing to do with the course, of more on career counseling. Yeah, so far, right? Those questions that I asked, I encountered. I still in touch with some students, yeah, adult learner.
Okay, good. Any other questions? If not, we can end this webinar. Okay, good. Thank you everyone for attending our webinar together with Deloitte. And we hope to see you again in our next webinar. Thank you.
Have a good day. Good evening.
Thanks, Simon.
I can leave now.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Have a good day.